people of Britain voted last week in local elections and the results were terrible for the government. But let's just say there were a couple of campaigns that might have caused you to look twice to wonder if they definitely were British elections.
Is Gaza or Great Britain? Right, what about this?
আর মনে করা যেতাম কার গেছে পাওয়ার আসলে আছে
7 মেতে গ্রিন পার্টিকে ভোট দেন
And this is the Labour candidate for Tower Hamlets.
আমি শাহিদা রহমান আমি ব্রহ্মরিলতে লেবার পার্টির কাউন্সিলর সিলেক্টেড হইছি আমি আমার সাথে আছেন হামিম চৌধুরী
And here, independent candidates being endorsed by imams, which MPs said in the House of Commons, by the way, like Jeremy Corbyn said there wasn't any evidence of.
This is your chance to bring change to your streets and to your roads. So you must come out, vote for these independent candidates.
And can you understand this candidate?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मेरा नाम काउंसलर सुमैया सुहेब है मैं नॉर्थ ब्री वार्ड से खड़ी हो रही हूँ
And here is some independents celebrating their victory.
The ever greater enrichment of multicultural Britain. And remember, if you don't absolutely love this, if you don't make sure that you tell everybody that you can see, excuse me there, sir, excuse me, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it great? Then you are racist. And to prove this, there was a debate on the show.
Ashok, I'll start with you. You're a Green Party activist. Now, I'd said that some of the Greens have come under fire from this because I've seen lots of videos of independents attacking your party for being debaucherous, degenerates. I've seen some language there saying you're too pro-LGBT, too pro-drug. I saw one guy saying that he'd rather vote for Reform UK. Do you not think that sectarianism is going to be an issue for your party, as we were talking about before, the church is so broad of the Greens?
Alex, I have to say those videos are just shocking. You know, brown people speaking, brown people dancing, brown people voting.
It's how he immediately and very smugly makes it about skin colour. These people are obsessed with skin colour. Our objection isn't the skin colour. Our objection is the secular nature of these elections. The language that they use. Call me old-fashioned, but I do an half like a political campaign to be in English.
People being involved in their community, shocking scenes. Not Britain, not the Britain I know, you know? Frankly, I don't know how we put a stop to it. We demanded they integrate for decades. We're like, they're not integrating. And now they're involved in the political process. And we're like, how dare they be part of the political process? What are we going to do about it? The main party's got to do something about it. One day, someone could be voting for a Labour Party politician or a Tory Party politician. They go into a ballot box, they vote green, and all of a sudden, he's an Islamist. And it's sectarian. Oh my God, what are we going to do? I mean, this is obviously silly. Like
it's not about the colour of your skin, though.
Sorry, Alex. People are embedded in their communities. You go to certain places, they'll be very white. I don't demand that there be brown and black people in there. There's white people, and they're amongst their community. I live in East London. I like to go to a curry house. I like to go to a shop and get my spices to make my food. I'm in part of a community. That doesn't mean I'm against Britain.
Of course,
and these people are in their community.
No, I'm not saying that brown people shouldn't vote, and I hate that word brown people because it's
Asians, let's say
Asian people,
yeah.
South Asian people.
But I don't see what they've done that's so wrong.
When you're campaigning in foreign dialects, and British people who might live in that area can't understand you, do you not think that's a problem?
Look, for example, when in Gorton and Denton the Green Party ran, we did commercials in English. We also did them in Urdu. We also did them
why?
in...
Why are you doing them in Urdu?
No, but you know that every single party, the Tories, Labour, every party for decades has done this.
Not reform.
Well, not reform, but I mean every
But do you think it's right is what I'm asking? Do you think it's right? If I went to another country and I went to
if you go to America, they have languages, they have it in Spanish, they have it in, different languages.
Do you think it's acceptable? I don't think it is.
Of course it is. It doesn't mean that people speak English as a first language or a second language. You're speaking to a community. You're saying, hey, we care about you as a community. It's not saying...
But if I lived in that area and I wanted to know what that candidate was standing for in that piece of material, how would I understand it?
They also do it in English.
Well, some of the
just because you do it in Urdu doesn't mean you don't do it in English.
The one that Gorton and Denton put out, the Green Party put out there, when it was translated, it was very different to some of the other campaigns.
Of course. Right? We're speaking to a community, so we say, hey, we care about healthcare, we care about rent.
To the whole constituency? Why do you have to pander to certain political...
Alex, I don't know if you've ever been involved in a political campaign. When you have a policy platform, when you're going to certain people, you say, you emphasize certain politics. That doesn't mean that you don't care about all the politics.
All right.
This is normal politics 101.
Okay.
The sheer level of gaslighting here can't be understated. It is completely not unreasonable for British people to expect that campaigns in Britain for local elections are going to be at least in English. and I get the sleight of hand with introducing race into this. Nobody's talking about ethnicity or race. This isn't a race or ethnicity issue. But from a culture perspective, why are the people of Britain being made to feel like if they object to a political campaign not being in English, that somehow makes them awful people? And this is why they're voting the way they're voting. In a way, I'm like, I actually think keep on doing it. Just keep on doing it. Because people, at least the beautiful thing about this country and what our predecessors and ancestors have built, really from the mid-17th century when we executed King Charles I and Parliament began its journey of superseding the crown in terms of power. What we've built since then and exported to the world, and entire nations have been formed off of the back of it, what we've built is the ability for our citizens to have a say. People can shout down and they can say, "You're racist! Oh, what you want your bloody campaigns in English, do you? Oh, bloody hell, I didn't realise I was dealing with a Nazi, flipping heck." Fine. You do that. Most people will just put their heads down and not talk about it. People are terrified of being labelled racist, which is fine. We all agree nobody likes racism. That's a well-established fact. The issue is how wide that term has now become, how widely defined that term has now become. If you think your local election campaign should be in English, well, sir, I've got news for you. You're a racist and probably a Nazi and far right. But the ballot box is there so that people they don't have to get into debates with people. They don't have to start a YouTube channel. They can just go to the ballot box and vote.
All right, Andrew, go on. What do you think of this?
Well, it's frightening. If this is what the Greens are going to do, divide our country up by colour and in a sectarian way, I think we have a lot to fear.
Yeah.
But Ashok, I'm afraid, straight away gave the game away. He spoke about brown people. It's not about colour. It's about us all being British, being part of the same country, believing in the same values.
As smug as this guy is, and just look at the state of that tongue. That is, you couldn't have found a better still to describe the bloke. But as frustrated as I am, what he's saying is correct. They did do exceptionally well. And they have been doing very well. The Greens, the Greens. They used to be about the environment, and now they're about Gaza and trans people. What's really incredible is how a group of people, such as the Muslim community in this country, has been so successful in subverting a party like the Greens. But because its desperation to performatively virtue signal has made itself the perfect target for this group to infiltrate. And that's what we're seeing happen. And it'll be interesting to see how the split happens when it inevitably does happen.
And it's not that we provided the arms so Israel could to perpetrate a genocide. We provided the intelligence so they can perpetrate a genocide.
Everything's either far right or a genocide.
Government is doing that. This isn't some politics outside. We're spending resources, money, and the moral fiber of our society in order to defend a state that's perpetrating a genocide. That's what people are against. You're going around telling me let me finish. What does deporting people have to do with local elections? You're running on one policy. Let's deport all the brown people. And so that you're running that. You're running that on local. You think local councillors? You think local councillors have the power to do that? Do you think local councils have
the
the
Reform UK government would do it.
Yeah, but Reform UK ran on that for local elections.
More room
Why did
for
you run on that
housing,
local
for
elections?
hospitals. We don't have police. We don't have the school places to have huge numbers of people coming into our country.
You don't have the power to do that.
We don't have the infrastructure.
You don't have the power to do that.
Okay, all right. I think the argument back is you wouldn't have the power to stop what's going on in Gaza.
No, but the things that we are running on locally is to say, for example, pension funds at the local level should be divested from companies that are profiting from a number. Waltham Forest, other councils that have voted on this also went green.
Okay, John.
But on this language point, if I may, Alex, I'm reminded of waiting to watch a Depeche Mode concert in London, sitting down in a restaurant, and I got talking to two French women while waiting for my wife, by the way, and I got talking to them in this restaurant, and I said to them, well, Depeche Mode were playing in Paris only last night. Why didn't you watch them in Paris? And they said, well, we always come and watch gigs in London. We come and watch gigs in London because we absolutely love the diversity. We love the fact that we can hear people's languages, different languages, and no one looks at us as if we're criminals or strange or odd.
And the Things That Never Happened award goes to this
Andrew makes the point that all campaigning should be in English. Well, does that count for the Senedd in Wales as well? Would you just ban people from speaking Welsh, which is an official language in Wales, or in Gaelic in Scotland? Like, I mean, come on, we can't really...
Now, if you ever hear somebody say, you're straw manning, and you think to yourself, straw manning? What does straw manning mean? When you straw man someone's position, like all campaigns should be in English, and they say, well, are you saying that there can't be any Welsh or Gaelic? Well, okay. Well, if we look at Great Britain, the map of Great Britain, you'll notice, you can't help but notice, there's a country called Wales and a country called Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, dare I say that should you come across somebody in one of those countries that is unable to speak English, which, you know, either Welsh do a very good job at keeping their language alive. They have all their signposting in English and Welsh. And listen, I live on the Welsh border in England, but on the Welsh border, I've been saying it for years. It looks like a made-up language. It does not look real. That being said, they keep it alive. But I am yet to bump into a Welsh person that cannot speak English. Same with the Scottish. They don't have any Gaelic signs in Scotland that I'm aware of. And the Irish, or the Northern Irish. So this is not the same thing, is it? We're not talking about the language of a far away land in the Middle East or India or wherever. Yes, you can have campaigns in Welsh and Gaelic if you really want. And in fact, you probably would have some in Welsh. The Welsh would do that. They've got a tremendous respect for their culture, have the Welsh. So they probably would do campaigns in Welsh. But this, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we know. This is what we call the straw man position. You're deliberately misrepresenting your opponent's position to make it appear weaker. Welsh, Urdu, not the same thing.
This stuff to extremes. It's about going to communities, meeting them where you are. If you want people to engage in the democratic process, you've got to make it accessible. That's why political parties make the language more accessible. There's no use using 15-syllable words.
He's missing the point, isn't he? Making it it being in English should be accessible. These people should be able to speak English. That should be there should be no language barrier of entry. We should make it accessible. Yeah, they should be able to just speak the language of the land.
Actually, large parts of the electorate actually don't have particularly high reading ages. You make political literature accessible. Like, all this is.
Would you not argue that Welsh is the national language of Wales, Gaelic national language of Scotland, right? So you can make that argument, but it's a bit different when you're campaigning in Urdu, for example, right? Which we've seen in the Gorton Denton by-election. You wouldn't be able to compete with that, would you?
On one hand, the right wing go, basically Asian people must integrate and we must have them speaking English. And on the other hand, they go, well, we're going to remove any barrier to them integrating and engaging in the democratic process. Pick a side. I mean, grow up and pick a side.
I worry about the future of our country because we've got the Greens, we've got Labour, we've got the Lib Dems. They're basically all the same. They're going to divide our country based on colour. They're going to divide our country in the way that everyone's in boxes rather than being British. That's exactly the wrong way to go. The failure of the British state is to integrate everybody into being British. And when it comes to elections, I'm sorry, John, it's time that everything was in English or the native language within the United Kingdom, and everyone that comes here needs to respect British customs, British traditions, British language, British laws. That's the point of coming to Britain, to be British, not to come here and try and change our country from within. So there has to be a change to this. A lack of integration means division, and division is what we've got at our country today, and it's a failure of all the political parties, and that's why Reform UK will be very different.
There is a time where that position was completely reasonable and not extreme in any way, shape or form. And how we've arrived at this point where saying this kind of stuff out loud is regarded as extreme by some people is bizarre. The rich history of this nation is almost completely at odds with every other nation on earth, bar one or two, maybe three or four, insofar as we're a country that has formed over the last 1,000 years and has found a system where every 5 years a government changes peacefully. We have relatively low levels of violence, poverty. Our ancestors have left us with just about as a complete and nearly finished product of a country they possibly could have. And for some bizarre, insane, unknown reason, people are looking at this country, people born here are looking at this country and are saying it's an awful place. The indigenous population are all far-right Nazi racists. We don't deserve anything we have, and we should all be punished.